today I'm just going to give you an audio lecture. I won't do a screen share because जैसे आप face to face वापस आएंगे classes के लिए तो फिर मैं दोबारा ये सारे जो topics हैं जो हमने online किए हैं वो मैं दोबारा revise कर दूंगी क्योंकि कुछ students ऐसे भी हैं जो time पे शायद घर नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं and they won't be able to join us for this class. So today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about vehicular pollution, meaning that pollution which comes from vehicles. A large majority of today's cars and trucks are using internal combustion engines. This means that these cars, these vehicles are burning gasoline or other types of fossil fuels. Now, the process of burning gasoline to power cars and trucks, this contributes to air pollution. And what happens here is there is a very large release of a variety of emissions which enter the atmosphere. Now, the emissions are released directly into the atmosphere from the exhausts of the cars and the trucks. And primarily the source of vehicular pollution is basically, you can say sulfur dioxide is being emitted into the atmosphere and nitrogen dioxide. Okay, so most of the pollutant, you can say pollutant matter, which is actually entering the atmosphere is basically sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide. Now, primary pollution from motor vehicles is that pollution which is directly emitted into the atmosphere. And secondary pollutants or pollution is that which results from chemical reaction between pollutants after they have been released into the air. So there are two terms which I have introduced here. The first one is primary pollution. Primary pollution is that pollution which is coming directly from the motor vehicle and it is entering the atmosphere. The secondary pollution is that pollution which is a chemical reaction that will occur after the pollutants have been released into the air. Now, what exactly are the ingredients of vehicular pollution? Like what actually makes up vehicle pollution? Well, the major pollutants which are associated with cars and trucks, the first one is ozone. Okay, and we've talked quite a lot about ozone. Ozone is the primary ingredient in urban smog. Ozone is created when hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides, these actually are released by automobiles. What will happen is that ozone and nitrogen oxides then react with the sunlight. Okay, and when this happens, there are lots of problems which are caused. This can cause problems to the respiratory system. It can cause coughing. It can cause choking, and it can reduce lung capacity. Okay, so that's the first pollutant which comes from vehicles. That's ozone. The second pollutant is particulate matter. Now, there are very small particles of soot, metals, and pollen. These cause problems in the atmosphere, and the other problem with particulate matter is it's very, very, very small. You can't actually see the particulate matter. And what will happen is that the particulate matter will start to penetrate deep into the lungs. And because of this, what will happen then is that you will start to have respiratory problems again. And in addition to direct emissions of fine particles, automobiles also release nitrogen oxides, hydrocarbons, and sulfur dioxide. And these actually generate their own type of particulate matter. Okay. Now, the next type of pollution which occurs from vehicles is nitrogen oxides. Nitrogen oxides, as we know, these can cause lung irritation. They can also weaken the body's defense system. They can also cause pneumonia, and it can also cause influenza, meaning flu. Now, in addition, nitrogen oxides also assist in the formation of ozone and particulate matter. And nitrogen oxide pollution accounts for 1/3 of the fine particulate pollution which is present in the air. The next type of pollutant which we're going to talk about is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless gas. It's formed by the combustion of fossil fuels, such as gasoline. Cars and trucks are basically the source of nearly 2/3 of carbon monoxide, which is actually being produced in the atmosphere. The other thing is when carbon monoxide is inhaled into the body, this will actually block the transport of oxygen to the brain, to the heart, and to other vital organs in the body. And newborn children and people with chronic illnesses are very susceptible to the effects of carbon monoxide. So carbon monoxide causes a lot of health problems, not only in, you can say, adults, but also in young children as well. Now, the next type of pollutant is sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is a pollutant which is caused by burning sulfur-containing fuels, especially diesel. Okay, so if you start burning diesel, you will end up producing sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. And sulfur dioxide can cause a very big problem to young children and asthmatics, people who are suffering from asthma. The other thing that we have, another type of pollutant is known as hazardous air pollutants or hazardous air pollution, which is caused by toxic materials. These chemical compounds are emitted by cars, trucks, refineries, gas pumps, and related types of sources. And hazardous air pollutants are toxic because they actually are cancer-causing pollutants. So this is something which we do not want to have actually in the air. Now, these are the pollutants which are being released from the exhausts of cars and trucks. The next thing is vehicle emissions that contribute to global warming. Carbon monoxide, ozone, particulate matter, and other forms of pollution can cause smog, and therefore they will deteriorate the air quality of the actual earth and the atmosphere. And the other thing is that these vehicle emissions contribute to different types of pollution, for example, global warming. Now, the gases that contribute to global warming are related to the chemical composition of the Earth's atmosphere. Some of the gases in the atmosphere function like a greenhouse, okay, which means they let some radiation in from the sun, but they do not let all that radiation go back out. Thereby, what they are doing is they are actually helping the Earth to keep warm. So this is what we call infrared radiation. So what happens is that some of the gases that are in the atmosphere, they're actually absorbing some of the radiation which is coming in from the sun. And they do not let some of that radiation go back out of the atmosphere. This is how the actual Earth stays warm. If this trend continues, where we are having gases in the atmosphere that are actually absorbing the infrared radiation and not letting that radiation go back out of the Earth, this will then lead to global warming, because if we are making more carbon dioxide and we are releasing more carbon monoxide into the Earth's atmosphere, then this will actually cause a problem with the balance of carbon dioxide, which is actually present in the atmosphere, because carbon dioxide is one of the heat-trapping gases. If there is more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it will trap more heat. Therefore, the Earth will start to warm up more than what it actually should be warming up. So this is what's known as global warming. Okay. Now, how do we actually control pollution which is coming in? Well, the thing is, obviously, we want to stop using any type of fuel which is emitting sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxide or carbon monoxide, which is changing into carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And one way to do this is to use zero emission vehicles. Zero emission vehicles are those vehicles which are based on hydrogen fuel cells and electricity. And what will happen here is the fuel cell vehicles actually run on electricity, which is produced from the reaction of hydrogen and oxygen. The only byproduct of this particular reaction is water. This is why fuel cell cars and trucks are called zero emission vehicles, because they do not release any type of hazardous, you can say, emission or any pollutant into the atmosphere.